James Farr here, live from Pasadena Media Studios. Get ready for more piercing and provocative. The Conversation Live starts now. And welcome to another episode of The Conversation Live. The Conversation Live focuses on social justice, restorative justice, inclusion, and equality. Today we're going to have a critical and possibly uncomfortable conversation. I have two wonderful guests joining me, and I've never been more excited to have these two women. You know, this past Sunday was Mother's Day. Mother's Day means so much to so many people. So I want to just frame it up this way. Jared, let's go ahead and roll in this clip, and then we'll come back and meet our two guests. And welcome back. You know, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, my two guests, between the two of them, have over 70 years of marriage and well over 100 years of parenting. One just happens to be my mother and the other is my wife. And so I just wanted to talk with them and, you know, one, say thank you both, Mom, babe. Mm-hmm. So if you're just checking in, we're not going hyper-local, we're not talking about Pasadena issues. I wanted to just talk with my mother and the mother of my children, my baby mama. Being a mother, Mom, what is the most rewarding experience?
Motherhood is really wonderful to me, and the most rewarding experience is seeing my children all grown up, being productive citizens in this world today, doing wonderful things, following their dreams, and a little bit of that dream is a part of me coming through, and I really feel good about that.
What about you, Pat?
Having our children, our 4-year-old and our 11-year-olds, particularly with the little one right now, it's like Christmas every morning. He wakes up re-energized. Every morning, he's happy to see us every morning, kissing the family and just getting us started. And having Kennedy, our 11-year-old, and just seeing how much she's grown, and she's bilingual and she's very outgoing and so smart and brave. So it's just happy to see them and the opportunities we've provided for them.
Now, I never gave you any trouble, Mama, so we don't have to worry about that. But when your children do challenge you at times, how is it that, you know, a mother's love kind of stays on course and you love your kids in spite of how they may show up sometimes or behave?
I believe if you love yourself, you love your children because they are an extension of you. You created them, and just to see them follow through. And I know you once told me that you didn't have freedom of speech at home.
No.
I thought you
recall
did.
it differently.
I thought you did. I thought we allowed you to speak very freely, but you assured me that you didn't.
No, there was an old saying, children are to be seen.
And not heard.
And not heard. But I did push back and ask the questions. So,
you did.
I joke with friends. I say I grew up in the Evans family. My brother is JJ. My sister is Thelma. And I was militant like Michael.
Militant Mike.
But I've
True.
also told you, James, even though we're doing the best we can with our children, we'll find out one day what we did not do well.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so we do the best we can. We allow Kennedy has a voice. She's going to tell us probably she didn't have a voice, you know. And we provide all the opportunities, but I'm sure one day she's going to tell us what we didn't do, and we just have to be ready for that, and that's parenthood.
Yeah, I mean, we were saying that, I was saying to you the other day, we're like first generation where you allow your kids to freely express themselves.
Right.
And so I know generationally for you, Mama, you must kind of look at it like, ooh.
Woo. So true.
Yes.
So like I said, I thought we allowed you to speak freely, but the bottom line was the parent had the last say-so.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we could speak, but it doesn't mean we was always going to be heard.
You could, well, you were heard, but it also had to do with the tone in which you spoke. You couldn't, like some of these children today that I hear, they're talking like a grown-up to a grown-up, to an disrespectful, I think.
Yeah.
So,
You know, and then, babe, you know, with the two kids that we have, because, you know, we have my baby, which is my daughter, and then we have my son, which is your baby.
Yes.
What do you hope for them in the future?
Oh, goodness. I just hope that they're happy and productive and can pay their own bills. So whatever they choose to do in life, I hope it brings happiness and resources for them and their families. So, you know, I just want to teach them how to provide for themselves, to be honest, and how to survive. I don't want to over pamper so that when they're out in the world, they don't know how to navigate. I think today about the middle class, and I feel like our middle class kids are caught in the middle. The kids who are in communities where they're marginalized, they're fighting to get out of that. And so the kids who are the upper echelon, they want to maintain that for their families going to these prestigious colleges. But the kids in the middle, they're pretty comfortable in the middle. And so I don't want our children to be comfortable. I want them to strive for what they want and be successful.
Okay. We'll check in just a minute. You're watching The Conversation Live. The Conversation Live focuses on social justice, restorative justice, inclusion, and equality. My guest today is my mother, Patricia Farr, and my wonderful, beautiful wife, Tamika Farr. Thank you guys for taking time and me forcing you to come on the show today. But no, this is like, I've wanted to do something like this for quite some time. The dynamics that we grew up in are a little bit different than how we're raising our kids. You know, for those in the audience, you know, you may know my mother is a first lady. She is a pastor. My father recently passed. And I've often looked at the dynamics of what a first lady is and maybe what a lot of times people may not understand what comes with it. So Jared, let's roll in this second clip about pastors' wives, and then we'll jump back into the conversation with them too.
In the church world, a pastor's wife is called a first lady.
You do good. Give me a kiss. You're going to do good. Mwah.
When you're married to a pastor, you're held to a higher standard.
The sisterhood is all about the lives of pastors' wives, known as first ladies.
A first lady has to appear perfect because she sets the standard for the congregation.
But if you pull back the curtain and see us for who we truly are, you'd be shocked.
Very difficult to be a first lady. Very difficult. Right this.
Exaggerating, Mom?
no, they are not exaggerating. I would say that, first of all, though, being the first lady is a term that I have never really likened to. I'm the only lady.
Well, we'll get there.
And the lady.
I am the lady. But all of that is true. You are an example, and I don't know why, but people expect so much out of the pastor's wife. Sometimes not really understanding that I'm only human. I had 3 children. I raised them. We had the same problems that you have, maybe some a little different. But if you cut me, I'll bleed. And so,
I mean, because when I was researching for this particular segment, I came across a video where a pastor was basically saying that the church doesn't understand that they are not just hiring the pastor and getting free labor from his wife and his children. And that is kind of what's expected. You're expected to be there
All the time.
all the time. I mean,
Every time the doors are open.
every time that your children are expected to be there.
Yes. Yes.
So if there's a young or, a wife or a partner of a minister or a pastor, what advice would you give them?
Learn to be yourself, and learn to say no. Don't let others heap expectations upon you that you may not be able to meet. You have to learn to live for yourself. Your first responsibility is to your husband as a man and to your children as a family. And I strongly believe that and have tried to live by that. My husband was a pastor for 40 years. So that's a long time to be in front of a congregation, and always, if I cut my hair, the next week there were several haircuts, just like mine.
Exactly, yeah.
If my children did something or were special in school or in whatever achievement, then the other children were encouraged to strive and reach that also.
You know, Meek, I was reading an article, Megan Good, the actress, and her husband, Devon Franklin, who's a Seventh-day Adventist minister. She said she stopped going to church because of evil Christians.
Well, I would say, and I'm not speaking from experience of being a first lady, and I'm excited that
You
I
the
don't have-
only lady.
I'm the only lady, but thank God I'm not the first lady. But what I would assume is that the first lady sets the tempo.
Yes.
So for the women in these positions to not set it so high that they can't meet the mark. If you're not going to be there, if you need a mental health day and you need to stay home on a Sunday, take a mental health day and don't be so hard on yourself. If you want to come in one day with jeans on, wear jeans. The congregation, I think, will follow your lead. So you set the tempo and don't let other people set it for you.
What are some, because now's your time to just let it all out, Mama. What are some of the, you semi-retired and no longer really have that charge anymore. What are some of the hurtful things that you experienced in church?
Well, I think I can say like Megan Good, evil Christians.
Does that even really go together, though? Can you be evil and a Christian?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But being a Christian does not mean you're perfect. So there are times when you're just like the next person. It just means that my faith allows me to forgive myself and to forgive others. And I can go on living. But there are the comments behind your back, the notes that are passed. There was a note passed early in your father's ministry. And your father was a handsome man. He had beautiful eyes like you have. And the women adored him as a pastor. There was a note that was passed, someone was trying to pass up to him, and the usher misunderstood where it was to go and brought it to me. I was singing in the choir, and I read the note. And,
Oh, boy.
oh, wow.
I never heard this one.
I felt so good being able to look down at the lady and kind of acknowledge that I had received her note.
Wow.
What did the note say, Mama?
That's okay. But it was a good sense of victory for me that I got a chance to really see her for what she was. And it just felt good just to even be able to acknowledge that. But those are hurtful things. When people, when someone comes, you're not at home, and they come and look through your garbage can to see what's going on in your household. These are things that actually happen. When you have to go on visits, hospital visits, your husband sends you in to a room with a female patient first, just to make sure that everything is copacetic. Because there are times that women will do things to try to take him away
Yeah.
from what he should be concentrating.
A little bit of distraction.
Some dangerous shenanigans there.
Healing hands, laying.
That's why you have to stay prayed up.
Prayed up. Prayed up. But you have to know your husband, and your husband knows you. And if he truly is sincere in his work and in ministry, those things, it comes with the territory. I wouldn't be, I don't think, such a good wife if I just nitpick at every little thing. I would be so, I'm not so insecure that I would have to do that. And I trust him.
Yeah.
I
Well, I mean,
trusted
but you
him.
had the advantage of an example.
I had an example.
And Nanny
I'm a
and Grandma.
PK.
You're a PK.
I'm a PK.
And so how do you think that kind of shaped you and prepared you? Because I know some women may think, and even some men may feel the excitement of ministry and preaching and may be in it for some of the wrong reasons, some ego and whatnot. But you had an example, to kind of fall back on. And if y'all think these two ladies are ladies, y'all should meet my grandmother. She's a ladies' lady.
She is the lady.
My mom taught me how to be a lady.
Yes, yes.
And I love that. She taught me how to be ladylike and to be a lady. And my parents also taught me by watching them. They were married for 60 years when they died. And so I had a chance to watch them live in the household. I didn't marry until I was 20 years old. So I grew up in a loving household, loving parents that loved each other. Of course, they had their disagreements also. But that was the example that we had. And the only thing I think I could pull out of that is that I'm not as staunch as my mother. My mother was a stiff person. You had to leave the house. Your hair had to be in order. Your dress had to be just so. And back then, we didn't wear pants or anything like that to church. As I grew up, as I matured in my faith, I learned that those type of things did not keep me from believing and loving God. And I became my own self.
That's why I started going to Internet Baptist, because it was just. I asked for Pastor Smith the other week, am I less saved if I watch online as opposed to go to church? He said, absolutely not. You're not.
No. It's like your brother. He calls it bedside Baptist.
Bedside Baptist. Let me check in real quick. You're watching the Conversation Live. Conversation Live focuses on social justice, restorative justice, inclusion, and equality. I'm having a conversation with my mother and my wife, and this past Sunday was Mother's Day, and for some people that can be an uncomfortable day. It could be a difficult day. I know for Mom it was a new Mother's Day, a new experience, and for my wife, she just smiled looking at that boy. And frowning at me and her girl. No, not entirely. But one of the things I want to talk to you guys about is, and cue up the video, and I'll let you know when to bring it in, Jared. But Mom, you're a big basketball fan.
Yes.
Big basketball fan, and it's safe to say the Warriors are your team.
Yes.
And safe to say Steph Curry's maybe your favorite player right now.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Steph's wife, Ayesha Curry, has been in the news, and it hasn't been very popular. Now, in fairness, I watched the whole interview, so I think I have a different context. But we want to look at self-identity and how do you maintain your individuality when you are with someone that's very public. But let's go ahead and see the clip, and then we'll come back and continue the conversation.
To have more compassion and more understanding.
Something that really bothers me and honestly has given me a sense of a little bit of an insecurity is the fact that, there are all these women throwing themselves, but me, the past 10 years, I don't have any of that. Like, I have zero, it sounds weird, but like male attention. And so then, like, I begin to internalize it, and I'm like, is something wrong with me?
You're
Like,
not looking.
what?
You're not
Like,
looking. You're not even. But I'm gonna tell you something else too. When your radar's turned off, because I dealt with that for years too. Like, and I was young, like you.
Yeah, I'm
like,
like,
oh my
that's
God.
not fair.
I mean,
because I don't want it, but
Yeah.
it'd be nice to know that, like, someone's looking.
But
That
when
can
your
get
radar's
dangerous.
turned off, right?
That
You're
can get
beautiful.
real
Don't
dangerous.
ever think for 1 minute that it ain't some men out there looking at you like I wish.
Honestly.
And I'm gonna tell you who knows that more than anybody. Your husband.
And on, I want to ask a question there. All of you made the decision not to travel.
And welcome back. You know, internet can be, Black Twitter can be cruel, the internet can be cruel, and they drug Aisha because of that. I mean, drug her. I didn't find it disrespectful in the context of what it is. What do you think about it?
Well, I think, like you said, putting it in context, all I've seen is the clip that we just watched, and so it does sound a little questionable. However, I can assume what she's referring to is being a wife and having a husband and a public figure. I mean, it being such a big public figure, and no matter what she does, all the attention will go to him. She's a beautiful woman. I believe she has a line, a culinary line. I think she's a cover girl. So she certainly has endorsements. She's bringing revenue, I would assume, into her family, and she has a strong presence. But no matter how strong that presence, her husband's presence will always be stronger. So she'll always place second to him, and she may just be struggling to maintain her identity throughout this. So that's how I understand it. And I couldn't ask her to do anything differently than what she's doing. How many women have a CoverGirl ad or have, you know, their own culinary items and collection? So to just continue to stay true to herself, because what we do know is the basketball career will come to an end. And then she will be able to shine, and I'm sure her husband appreciates her and her children appreciates her, but to stay true to herself so that even when this comes to an end, she can continue to excel. And it'll be her turn at some point.
Now, Mom, would women from your generation, would they say something like that? I mean, do you think she was just making she misspoke, or?
No, I don't think she misspoke, because a lot of times, I mean, usually if a woman knows her man, she can see, and she definitely knows women. So you can see all of that coming, but also you need to learn to be secure in your own skin. Know who you are, know what you want out of life, and be comfortable with that. And when those, and just like if I step out of the house and I know I'm looking good, I know everything is together, and I know that hubby is saying, "Oh, you look nice today," or I'm okay with that. And then that means that somebody else is noticing it also. If he notices somebody else, so I don't worry about that. She may have spoken, not really thinking. That's what I think. But
you don't have to worry about it. Only about 3 people watch this.
I didn't see the whole video, the whole snippet.
I think we'll watch it later on tonight, just so you guys can have some context. Y'all got any questions y'all want to ask me? I'm just happy to be here with y'all, just smiling. These beautiful ladies in my life. Shout out to my sister who's in Northern California.
Working.
Well, I do. I identify you also as a mama's boy. I know that's taboo, but my boy is a mama's boy. So I see how you love on your mom and kiss her, and you and your brother will double team her and hug her and kiss her. And so I am fortunate to have my children and have my son. So thank you for my son, my own personal mama's boy, who will kiss my elbows and my ankles or whatever he can find.
But see, you can't call me a mama's boy. I can say I'm a mama's boy, but you can't call me a mama's boy.
You are a mama's boy. You love your mama, and I love your mama, so it's okay. I think maybe when the wife loves the mom, it's okay. Now, if it was the other way around, it would be a negative, more of a negative spin on it. But no, this is because I love you and your family. It's okay for you to be a mama's boy.
You know, y'all have an interesting dynamic. I've never seen y'all kind of get crossed up, you know what I mean, or have an issue. And you know, I know not everybody can say that about you know about their mother-in-law, especially you know with the son-daughter dynamics. And Mom, you refer to Meek as your daughter.
Yes, yes. She's not a daughter-in-law. She's a daughter in love, and that's how I look at it. She's always been that way to me. I remember when I first met her at the high school. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And everyone was telling me
When her
how
hair was
she
kind of cut to the side, salt and pepper.
My big hoop earring.
MC Light.
Everyone was telling me she was going to be my daughter-in-law. I said, "Oh no, my son he won't get married. He loves his mama too much." But eventually, and how happy we were that he chose Miko.
Well, she chose me, you know. Because she
That's
chose.
a whole other story.
Okay. Yeah.
But I do think because of the example that you and Reverend Farr set for him, being a strong couple and a strong marriage, that when in our relationship, that was the premise that he had. So I think for me, my parents were never married, and they had me at a very young age. Very, you know, they both very much loved me and was there for me, but I never saw a couple together for that many years. My grandparents. But then, you know, the dynamics were a little different. So I think with him just having that as a reference, it's been very helpful in our marriage, and we've been married this year, it'll be 20 years.
20 whole years.
I know.
Well, we're going to park it right there. We are hard up on the time. I'm appreciative that y'all sat down with me. But they're giving me the cue, and we gotta go. So, again, you're watching The Conversation Live. The Conversation Live focuses on social justice, restorative justice, inclusion, and equality. Join me next Wednesday when Pasadena Police Chief John Perez will be in the seat. We're gonna have a pretty explosive dialogue. Until we have another opportunity to speak with you, as always, agape. The Conversation Live is brought to you by